Hey guys, this is your girl Lira, and you're listening to Self Reflection Podcast. Thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Self Reflection Podcast. I hope and I pray that this podcast episode finds you guys in the best possible state that you can be in for yourself today. And if you're not doing your best, I hope and I pray that you do find some time to do some self reflection. And if this is something that you're dealing with and cannot fully deal with it on your own and by yourself, please go ahead and reach out, get some support in this space. Sometimes life can get really challenging and we need people to hold us at times. So if you are in this space right now, go ahead, reach out to someone. It could be a therapist, it could be a life coach, it could be a friend, a family member, right? Anyone that you feel comfortable talking to in this moment, right? Life is already challenging. You don't got to do this by yourself, all right? Let's get into a podcast episode for today. Today, I am excited to have this conversation with this beautiful young lady. Today, we are talking to Shivani Gohil. Shivani is the founder and the CEO of Rat Girls. I have had the pleasure to have multiple conversations with this woman. The work that she's doing, especially in the tech industry as a woman of color, the work that she's doing, right? It empowers me to see like that women are not being left behind, especially when it comes down to tech. And the way she talks about how she wants her program to be run, the way she talks about, the connection that she's building with everyone in, her company, it gives me hope for a better future. It gives me hope for a better work environment, because I know that in today's society, there are not many CEOs that care about the people that they work with. But having multiple conversations with a young lady, I would say that I have hope for the future. So please help me welcome Shivani. Hi.
Hello, Lyra. My goodness, what an introduction. I'm like so humbled. I'm like shaking.
No, thank you. I think we have had multiple conversations to a part where I feel like I kind of know you, which I
Oh,
don't, but it feels like I know you. And it's just the way you talk about the project that you have been working on for years. It brings so much light into women, and I have yet to meet anyone on your team, but you seem like you truly genuinely care about every single one of them, and every time I message you, you're always like on it to respond back to me, and I want to appreciate you for that as well. So thank you.
of course, Lyra. Right back at you. I mean, while we are new friends, I will say friends, and new colleagues, even in a way, right? We'll be working together quite often. Um, I am so thrilled, right? I'm so thrilled that we met. It's very, well, I'm learning actually that it's not so rare that you meet people that you're kindred with if you're just
Mm,
open-handed.
yeah.
And, just meeting you has been such a joy in my life. Like, I think we have so much in common. I love the work that you do. And so I'm just so excited to be here today with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we move into our podcast episode, please give us a little background of who you are.
Absolutely, absolutely. So glad that you asked. I come from a background in a lot of creative strategy. Actually, I ran my own digital consultancy for quite a while, and that's really what kickstarted this journey of me becoming a growth strategist. Pretty much have done that in varying different ways across both my entrepreneurial and my corporate career, mostly leading revenue growth.
Yeah.
Uh, but being on the revenue side of things, it was very male oriented, which is not a bad thing, right? Like I actually enjoyed it quite a bit, and I loved how much I was learning from everyone.
Yeah.
And you know, I found that they really did respect me, so I really appreciated that in all the teams that I've been in. But still, it can get lonely being the only woman on the team, and that's really what kind of kickstarted this journey of like, hey, I am just a girl. Like I might be doing all of these things in my professional world, but that is truly how most people see me. Why? How can I be more? And then when I started saying, how can I be more? The question became, well, what is more to me, right? And that was really where that transformational journey began for me, and how this idea for Rat Girls came, right? Through navigating the liminality of both early adulthood and navigating my own identity and how that was changing. I realized that there were probably other women out there who felt that way.
Mm.
Even just talk, I mean, I talk to women of all ages, across all different industries, across varying levels of their career, their personal lives, right? And everyone agreed, right, that women need more support.
Yes.
Really, it became so simple after that, that, hey, I'm passionate about this. If there's anything that I'm going to spend my life doing, it's this. It's the fight for gender equity on a worldwide scale, hopefully, right? And the second half became about, well, I love technology. I love artificial intelligence, right? I love thinking about the way that human behavior impacts the creation of innovation, right? And from there, it was, from there we got here. We're now like 15 days away from launching. So
Wow.
I think.
I know, 15 days, so close, but so far, but so close. Almost there. I'm excited. I'm excited to even learn more about the program as we dive into our conversation for today. I'm also excited because we kind of talked about how we wanted to navigate this conversation, and I love the breakdown of it. So for anyone else that is listening out there, this conversation is going to go into bits and pieces of parts. And, I think even if one part of this conversation doesn't apply to you, I feel like another part of it might apply to you. So the first part that we're going to talk about is personal and professional journey of hers. So can you share a bit about your journey and how your transition into leading and your and leading into tech, and starting up Rat Girls?
Sure. I don't know how much detail you want, so I'll do a bit of like a TLDR version, and then from there maybe we can get into some other follow-up questions. The journey has been entirely unlike anything I could have ever imagined as a young girl. Like I always knew that I wanted to be in leadership. I don't know. I was always told I was a little bossy growing up, which I think is just crazy because now I don't hear young girls being called bossy, which is amazing, right?
Yeah.
I was just a little bossy, a little creative, a little outspoken as a child, and it was very easy for me to kind of stand up for the things that I loved because I didn't care. What was something that was very like embedded into me as a kid. I don't know why. I think I just got bullied a lot that eventually I gave up. But that's really where it started. It's like, what am I passionate about? I'm going to learn as much as I can about it. And then from there, I'm going to do something about it. And I think that always stuck with me. And that's kind of like my personal journey. Lots of obviously story pieces in there, some generational lore in there.
Yeah.
But, when that translated to my professional career, right? Like at 19, I began my professional career in the real world. It was crazy. I was so young. I had just been diagnosed with like an autoimmune disease that was really impacting the way that I saw my future just in my personal life. I had just dropped out of being a pre-medical student, and I had like no idea what I wanted to do because as a medical, like kind of pursuing that medical path, it's like 10 years of your life that's planned out for you, so you don't have to think about it. And now all of a sudden here I am like, ooh, like I'm not gonna be a doctor. Ooh, like what do I do for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
And it, that was when the journey kicked off for me. I grew up in Silicon Valley, like it's my home. I love it. And I don't know why I didn't recognize it sooner, but I loved entrepreneurship. And more than entrepreneurship, I liked the startup culture. Like I loved how fast people built and broke things. That was something I liked to do as a kid. I like to build and break things. Ask anyone.
Yeah.
Literally. And so it was like, it just, these little things clicked for me slowly. I love building and breaking things. So now I like to call myself an explorative builder, right? Explore a little, break things a little, and then again. I loved writing. I was really interested in reading and writing. And so I fell in love with philosophy and literature, like, in college, especially where everything, like the opportunities are there, the libraries are there, the professors are there. There's so much to learn. And so, I fell in love with that. And that really got me thinking about the way that the world exists now, like the systems that are being built, right? And the implications of building certain systems, especially like the fallout, the debris of building something new after breaking something old, right? And so I fell in love with that. And from there, I ended up switching my major from biochemistry,
Mhm.
biochemistry, very logical degree, to political science. And from there, I was like, okay, I think I want to do law. Like, I want to advocate for people in whatever way I can.
Mhm.
Long story short, I ended up studying political science, and of course, with that, the natural path for your career would be well, most likely law, right? And that was very common at my university, that most students would be in law. And so all of my peers were doing that. And of course, that was what I became interested in.
Mhm.
Now, when it came to the specialty I wanted to practice, I really wanted to be in technology. I was interested in like patent law and things like that, intellectual property, just right off the bat. I think also Santa Clara University, like it's in the heart of Santa Clara. Like there's a lot of startups there, so naturally they want to create lawyers that are in that space.
Yes.
And so that was really where I was drawn. But then as I started learning the law side of things, I was like, ooh, I like the tech side more. So I'm like, okay, I'm like too old now. I'm
Yeah.
a junior in college. I can't switch my major now, like to computer science, right? Like, what am I gonna do? So took a step back and I was just like, I'm just going to finish my coursework and get this degree. But hey, like there's so many resources on campus and courses that
Mhm.
I can shadow and this and that. Why not just sit in, right? And just keep learning. And I became a bit of a hermit, if you will,
Mm.
at like age 19-ish, where I was sick, of course, but also really enjoying like learning about the world and, pulled into that shell. And I was just peering out into the world, learning as much as I could.
Yeah.
Um, Now, of course, since my goal was breaking into technology industry, like I had to figure out the ABCs of how to do that. That journey in and of itself was quite difficult for me.
This episode is brought to you by Prolong. If you want the healthy benefits of fasting, such as healthy aging, weight loss, energy, and mental clarity, while still being able to eat, Prolong fasting mimicking nutrition programs are for you. Prolong is the first and only clinical tested doctor recommended fasting nutrition program based on over 20 years of research and development by the Longevity Institution at the University of Southern California in collaboration with 17 other prestigious universities. It's primarily plant based. Non GMO food is shown to rejuvenate your body cells the same way fasting would. And if done 3 times a year, you can reverse your biological age by 2.5 years. Check out Prolong 5 Days Nutritional Program and subscribe to the program every 4 months for the best results by going to prolonglive.com. That is PROLONLIFE.com. And for you, my dear Self-Reflection family, you get 20% off with code SELF10 at checkout.
Of course, I didn't have any background in technology, no internships. It's a really crazy industry to break into. Always have to know someone almost, it feels like, right? For the kinds of roles that I wanted. And I wasn't in that space, right? I wasn't in the business school. I wasn't in the computer science major. So I didn't know how to network for those kinds of jobs. And I talked to other people around me and they were just like, oh, just apply, you'll be fine. Like, that's what I did. I'm like, you forget that you have a master's degree in like electrical engineering, my guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a political science major who has no like background in this, right? And then the gears like clicked, right? It was like, oh, I have no background, so I just need to get experience, right? And maybe aiming for Google wasn't the way to go, like my
Mhm.
parents were doing, right? Like I didn't have that pedigree, right? Maybe the way to go for me was to start small, and that's okay, right? Especially growing up in Silicon Valley, like it's always go, 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 and you always
Yes.
have to shine your brightest. Learning that lesson of, hey, it's okay to start from square one when you've got a dream, that was the biggest thing that I walked away with my degree, honestly.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Honestly, perfect.
Wow.
Now, the way that I got that experience, yeah. Oh, sorry, Leah, jump in, please.
No, I was just like, wow. I think what you said, it's okay to start from small. Start from nothing. I think that is a message that a lot of young girls, including myself, right? Especially with someone like myself that is creating a podcast, from scratch, don't really know never really had anyone in my circle, in my family, ever had a podcast. So starting this journey, it's something that started really small, right? And it's still very small, but it's doing it's I think I received that message wholeheartedly, because I think it's something that a lot of people need to hear today, because I think in today's society everyone wants things to happen overnight for them, and then they forget about, like, hey, there's groundwork that needs to be put in. And what you just said kind of resonate with me very well. So I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, actually, I'm glad. Let's have a candid conversation, right? Like that's what's most fun. Um, I'm so glad that, first of all, what I'm able to say can resonate with you. But I have to say that what you just said resonated with me, right? Especially that bit about, it's so easy in today's society to think that everything happens overnight.
Mhm.
Um, that's exactly the mindset that I had when I was young, because that's what I was surrounded by. Like, this was the age of social media, right? I was, what, like 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, like the age of social media. And even before that, being in the Bay Area, right? Like Tumblr was launched here, Meta was launched here. I mean, everything was launched here, right? I was like the early users. So then, thus, you know, we were stuck with the implications of that system, right? Like I said in the beginning, right? What is the fallout of social media? It's media, like literally the lack of media literacy, right? Like people do not know reality from fake anymore, which is sad, right? Second to that, like minority groups,
Mm.
like impacted, like, well, you know, people with like often hyphenated identities, right? Like woman of color, right? Like black woman,
Mhm.
right? Like these identities became, again, classified
Yeah.
digital platforms, right? We still see it till today, right? Like black creators do not get as much exposure as, per se, as their counterparts, I will say, right? And that's something that's quite sad as well to me. And so kind of like thinking about this fake reality that's shown online, and yet how it does reflect implicit bias, implicit um, assumptions,
Mhm.
right? That we as people carry. And now it's happening on a rapid scale, right? Like this is global, and everyone has an iPhone. Not everyone, but everyone has social media for the most part. Everyone has a public persona. And so, how do we navigate that? That was also something that was difficult for me as a young girl. And even well into my I'm 26, like well into now, like I still sometimes look at things and I'm like, ooh, like that could be me. I'm not working hard enough. Or like, oh, like, why does it look so perfect there, but in mine it's not, right? Like that, it's so hard.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that was like the kind of ethos that I wanted to bring to Rat Girls, very much so, right? That, hey, sure, Shivani is a CEO, right? But let's talk about the reality. Like she works 18 hours a day. Like
Mhm.
she is at home with her parents this weekend and like still working, like hasn't walked her dog in 3 days. Like, let's talk about that, right? I try, right? I try, but things get in the way, and
Life
um,
happens.
exactly, right? Like life happens, but we don't show that part. And that's kind of what Rat Girls is about, right? Like, let's bring women's realist narratives to the table, just like what you do here, right? Like, let's bring those realist narratives to the table. Let's talk about the liminality, the in between from point A to point B. That's, I think, the most special parts of the journey. And those are the ones that are like, those are the stories that are worth writing, right? The in between.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely agree with everything you said. I know. And you have a lot going on for you. So being the CEO and the founder of like Rap Girls, how do you, balance everything and manage everything that you have going on in your life, your responsibility with being the founder, and also the hobbies, like you just mentioned, like in the beginning of our conversation, you said, you were traveling for work and then you came back, you landed in San Jose. Now you're with your parents trying to spend that time. So, how do you navigate this entire space?
Yeah, I am still learning that. I actually just sent one of our advisory board members a message being like, "Hey, I'm so sorry that I've been MIA. Like, I'm still learning how to do this whole work-life balance thing." But Honestly, it's being surrounded by the right people. I cannot give myself any credit for how I've kept my life afloat over the past year and a half. Genuinely, it's my parents, my sister, my partners, like my friends, right? Like the people around me, my team, right? They are the reason that I'm okay, right? Like there are days where um, I'm like, I need a day off, and our technical advisor will be like, "Go take that time off." He's like, "I'm going to Vegas right now, like for a soccer game. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're a girl, go have fun." Like it's funny, right? Like, and he just reminds me that, like, hey, yeah, I am just a girl. Like, I deserve to have fun, and it's that kind of narrative, right? Like, yes, I might be doing all these big, wonderful things in my life. Oh, well, hopefully big, right? But maybe I'm doing all these wonderful things in my life, or very grueling things in my life, more than wonderful,
Yes.
right? How do I remember who I really am? And I think the only way to remember who you really are is by being reflected who you are from the people that really love you and care about you.
Wow, I love that. Because I think, like, especially in today's society where everything, you don't know what's real and what's not, having the right people in your corner or by your side, and them telling you, the real, it's one of the best gifts that we can give ourselves today, especially in today's society, because it's so hard to find people that are genuine or like genuinely care for you. So I love that.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And you're so right. And I think it's like a skill, right? Um, like I think we as girls are taught to be nice, and to be peaceful.
Hmm.
We're not really ever taught how to cut people out of our lives, how to stand up for ourselves, how to be unapologetic.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that I really had to learn. Like I hate to say it, like this sounds so stupid and like cliche, but like I really did have to learn how to do that. And like um now my life feels peaceful, right? Like because of that. And now I really was able to finally hear my own voice, like after all of that. I mean, this whole journey has been so spiritual in so many ways too, in that sense, right? Lots of lessons, lots of lessons. That's all I can say. That being a big one for sure.
Talking about lessons, what are some key lessons you have learned from your experience that you apply in this space?
My goodness. I keep a document actually. So sorry. There has to be and one thing about me, there's always a backstory to my answer. So when I was in college, one of the last courses that I took was like a business class, and the professor was actually like he was the CEO of a company called Seagate way back when. So he was teaching like leadership best practices and things like that, and he gave us a document of like his entire career, what were his biggest lessons and best practices. And I kind of started doing the same thing. And so I've got this whole document where I'm just like, do not take more than like one day to respond to this kind of email, like all of these things that I've just learned. I
Hmm.
like to call it my Bible. I hate to say that, I know, but I do. Like it's my corporate Bible,
Yes.
or like my professional Bible, right? Um, I guess. So, like from that, I think it's hard to pick just one, right? Like, but I've noticed that the ones that I go back to quite often, because I read it quite often, right? I'm just a girl, right? I forget things, you know. But like when you when I read that, like I remember that, you know, the things that matter the most from these learnings are the lessons that matter the most, rather, are the ones that um, really make me focus in on the impact that I'm about to make with the action that I take, right? Like if it takes me 13 days to respond to a partner email, imagine the impact, right? So how do you do that? And there's actually a great lesson, which is not my lesson. I think it was Indra Nui, this PepsiCo CEO, who said this, but I can't quite remember. But I wrote it down, right? Like the lesson was like, you're always juggling all of these different balls, right? One is plastic, one is metal, some are glass, right? If one of them falls, the plastic one, it's fine, right? Like it'll bounce right back up. If the metal one falls, okay, it'll make some noise. It's a little annoying, right? But it'll be fine. Maybe a few dents, like, but it'll be fine, right? The
Mhm.
glass one, if you drop that one, it shatters, right? You're done. Like it's impossible to fix that after that, right? Know what things in your life are glass, metal, and plastic, right? And it goes back to that saying that we were talking about faith versus reality, right? Know what's glass, metal, and plastic, and everything else from there becomes easier in life. Genuinely, from your responsibilities to your lessons to the people in your life to the actions that you take and the decisions that you make, right? Um, they all have priority level. Right? That sounds like it's so bad, but
No,
like
no,
in a way, but it works.
that was beautifully said. Like seriously, like I feel like I have had multiple glasses, and I have had them, fumbled them, dropped them, try to pick them up, and they cut me. So putting it in that way, it's and also what you just said before that, you said, responding to like professional emails and knowing what emails to respond to. I think that is something that I've also struggled with in that space. And like, okay, where do I go? How do I respond to this? Because sometimes you get one too many and you don't know who to start and where to start. So it's like just knowing, like hearing what you're saying right now is knowing what glass you want to protect and not drop is so important. And thank you for that. And I hope that anyone else that's listening to this podcast episode literally like will gravitate towards that, because that was gems drop. My job.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I will take that lesson a bit further though. It's about what you mentioned, right, Lira? Like, I have also been in that position of, okay, I dropped that glass ball. And I've definitely dropped it a couple of times, right? Um, what happens after that, right? You're going to get cuts on your hand if you try to pick it up. So the only option you really have is to heal and move forward. And that's also a big part of the lessons that I work on, right? Like, yes, in a corporate setting, like sometimes you might forget to send that email. And yes, it might have a big implication, but you got to get your back, like, you gotta try again, right? You can't just give up. You gotta heal and get on to the next, take it as a lesson. And I think it just goes back to everything that I've been saying. My biggest lesson is just to be a lifelong learner, right? Like literally learn from everything. Do make time to turn your brain off. I forget to do that. But if you're a lifelong learner, like life is beautiful and it's messy and it's crazy and you'll break things and then you'll build things, right? And you keep going in that cycle until, you're happy. And one day you'll wake up and you'll just be like, I'm happy,
Yeah.
It doesn't, well, everything just keeps going over and over again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for dropping gems after gems after gems in this conversation. I really appreciate you. Also, guys, we are now talking to Shivani Gohil, the founder and CEO of Rat Gorls. We just went on the personal journey of hers and a professional journey. So now we are going to move into building Rat Gorls, right? We're going to talk to Shivani about where that idea really comes from and what she sees for Rat Gorls and how she looks forward to building this amazing, I don't even know what to say, community, right? That's the right word. This amazing community. So let's join our amazing guest, Shivani. Thank you again for joining us on Self Reflection Podcast. We're going to dive into building Rat Gorls. So, what inspired you to create Rat Gorls, and how does your personal aspirations of impacting women, education, and empowerment shape the vision and mission of this platform?
Absolutely. Big question. So I'll try to break it up into smaller parts. And I will say thank you, first of all, for recognizing, what we're trying to build. I think it's special to have people around you that believe in what you're building, right? And so thank you for that. I have kind of touched upon how my background impacts why I'm so passionate about this. Um, I just think women should have the world, right? Like we do so much. We deserve the world, I think, after so long of giving people the world, right? Giving ourselves up endlessly to keep the world running, right? And so I think it's about time that women got a little bit of what they gave. You know what I mean? And so there's really that. Like that's just the general like love that I have for womanhood. That I think all of us have for womanhood, right? And I just think that there should be way more of it from everyone. Now, from a from a perspective of kind of like what exactly we're building, and how that ethos kind of ties into Rat Girls as a company.
Mm-hmm.
This is a bit of a longer answer, of course. First and foremost, right? How do we get women to love ourselves and each other? Well, I think that comes from one simple thing: empowerment, right? And in my mind, I think empowerment comes from a, a multifaceted journey, right? It comes from spirituality, it comes from our friendships, it comes from our careers, it comes from our education, it comes from our families, it comes from our partnerships, right? It comes from everything. And women are so behind in terms of the resources that they have available at their fingertips, that, it's simple, right? Like, if we want empowerment, then we need resources. And if they're so behind, then someone needs to catch them up, right?
Yes.
And as I kind of looked around, and not just me, right? Like, hundreds of women, especially in the Bay Area, since this is where I'm located, I talked to hundreds of women here, and everyone felt the same way, right? They were like, yeah, there's no real place that I can like be my most authentic self, but also be a corporate baddie, and also be like the founder of a company, and also like get coffee with the girls and go on hikes on Sundays because I just got a dog. Like, there's nowhere that I can meet this community. There's
Yeah.
nowhere you can find empowerment across every area of my life. And if I'm going to find a place like that, they're going to charge me $500 a year for that membership, at least, sometimes even a month. Some of them are like $500 a month for those members. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, we got rent to pay. We got things to do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, at the very least, can I get my nails done? Like,
The bills got to get paid.
exactly, right? Like, and $500 a month is insane. Like, I was looking at those, and I'm like, what? Simply what? To exist, to have a good time, like to be a girl? That's crazy. And so I thought about the commercialization of womanhood, and I was like, we need to change this, okay, right? And that's really where Rat Girls came from, right? It was like, let's build a one-stop digital ecosystem designed to empower young women at every little stop and sidetrack of their journey, both professionally and personally, right? How do we get women to feel empowered in every single thing that they do? How do we give women a community for
Mm-hmm.
all of their interests and aspirations? How do we give women a suite of robust tools that, meets them exactly where they are at in their journey, and, shows them how they can achieve their dreams? Like, how do we do that? And as we looked for a place like that, we couldn't find anything, right? There were a lot of generic women's communities that catered to one of our many identities, which is okay, right? Like, that's fine. Like, yes, amazing that there's that resource, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it forgot about our personal identity, right? Or it forgot about being a mother, or it forgot about my love for flowers, right? Whatever it is. How do we love all of me? And that's what Rat Girls became, right? It went from just being a community. Well, actually, it started as a media company, right? We just started as podcasts and panel videos and things like that we were interested in, social media content. From there, quickly became, okay, we need a space for our community. Let's build that. From community, it went to, oh God, like, we need tools to support our community, and we need partnerships to help keep the community running. Let's build that. To, oh my God, like, people are interested in like funding female founded startups that are coming out of our community. They're interested in this and that and the other. Like, so many conversations that I was like, all right, we got to build it all. We got to build it all. Okay. And then very quickly, that's what happened, right? For a year and a half, we've just, not even, for 2 years, we've been building this thing. We keep getting more and more feedback from women, from our partners, from, VCs, from advisors and board members and everyone, that are like, this is the way to go. And now finally, we're at this place where we are ready to launch what we like to call the ultimate playground for the girls, right? It's got the tools, the networks, the resources, the communities, the shopping, right? It's got anything and everything that you need to be able to shine in your most authentic light, to have fun, to dare greatly in the direction of your dreams, to just be a girl, dude. Just have fun, Like, it's for the girls. It really is. And I'm so excited for everyone to see it. My God, I've been waiting to say this for so long.
I can see the excitement just bursting out of you, and it's beautiful because, like, if I see that and I'm someone that's watching this conversation and I see how excited you are, I want to go see what is going on over there. What is making this young woman so excited about this whole thing? So I love that about you. And I hope that, our family out there that's going to come across this content or this conversation, right? I hope that they're gonna find interest in like wanting to check out Rat Girls, even if the young women out there don't fully join. But I hope that they do find a way to get on the website, to check you guys' page out, to check what Rat Girls is all about, and see what is bringing you this much joy, because you make me smile just by looking at the joy that's coming out of you. So thank you again, and thank you and your team for this long and hard 2 years of putting this together for women, right? Women that you have no idea who you're going to impact, but yet you spend so much time just creating this thing. And from them to me to us, thank you. This
Oh, thank
episode is brought to you by Prolong. If you want the healthy benefits of fasting, such as healthy aging, weight loss, energy, and mental clarity, while still being able to eat, prolonged fasting mimicking nutrition programs are for you. Prolong is the first and only clinical tested doctor recommended fasting nutrition program based on over 20 years of research and development by the Longevity Institution at the University of Southern California in collaboration with 17 other prestigious universities. It's primarily plant-based. Non-GMO food is shown to rejuvenate your body cells the same way fasting would. And if done 3 times a year, you can reverse your biological age by 2.5 years. Check out Prolong 5 Days Nutritional Program and subscribe to the program every 4 months for the best results by going to prolonglife.com. That is PROLONLIFE.com. And for you, my dear Self-Reflection family, you get 20% off with code SELF10 at checkout.
I really do appreciate that all of these resources for women existed, but they almost felt like they were being gatekept. And it even felt like, as I talked to more women, I realized I wasn't the only one who felt that way, right? And so when we even thought about what For the Girls means at Rat Girls, like that has impacted every single decision that we've made across our, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Okay. That has impacted every single decision that we've made across our corporate strategy, the way that we incorporated our company, the kinds of team members that came on board, all the way down to even micro decisions like how are we doing our pricing, right? What is For the Girls pricing, right? And when we thought about it, we realized we're not going to ask anyone to pay on this, pay. We cannot ask the first girls to take a chance on us to pay to have access to Rat Girls. Like they should just be able to do well with what we've built. So when we think about that, like even on the pricing strategy side of things, our entire technology is totally free to join for the first 10,000 girls to join us on July 20th, right? Like totally free, 10,000 women. We want to help 10,000 women for free. And by the way, it's cost us quite a bit of money to build an AI platform, right? With like proprietary machine learning models and things like that. And so there's all of that in the back of my head, but like, what is the point, right? Like, what is the point of building this if we're just going to keep that cycle going? And so for the first 10,000 girls, we said, come over. It's like a girl dinner. Like, come over, I'll cook. You bring a bottle of wine and we'll have like a good time in the Rat Girls universe, right? Like it's literally the vibes that we built into our pricing strategy, right? And we're hoping that it does well, right? Like with the first 10,000 girls to join us, we'll be able to show the impact that we're able to make on these young women's lives. And more importantly, like there's our mission, right? Like we're slowly closing gender equity, like gender gaps, pardon. We're making it, we're doing it. Like we are For the Girls. That's my main objective. And I just want that to continue to shine through. Yeah. And then after that, for the 10,001th girl, it starts at $2.99 per month, right? Like that's it. $2.99. You have to be based in Canada or the US, but that's fine.
No, 10,000 women getting all of this free gifts, I wouldn't even call them, that's beautiful. And I think that what you guys are also doing there is closing the what's it called, not only the gender gap but also the race gap in, of who gets to be in tech. And because a lot of minorities, right, like people like myself, black people, and other people of color, tech is not something that we're in. That's just a reality. There's barely any black people in tech. So when you're in that space as a color woman, and this is what you're looking to do for other women, not only color women but other women, I don't know. I'm lost of words right now because it's beautiful, and I think like you empowering women to get into tech in this way is so beautiful because it's something that me personally, I'm not a big tech person, but to see somebody else inspire other women that might be interested in this field and in this space to get all the resources that Rat Girl is going to offer, it's beautiful, and that's all I have to say in that. So thank you.
Well, of course, of course. And that's something that we're working on right now too, right? Like while technology was one of the first communities that we ended up building, given the amount of people in tech in the Bay Area, right?
Mhm.
We've grown, right? Like since 2 years ago, like from technology, we now have a global finance community, like marketing, consulting, healthcare, which is medicine is kind of healthcare, right? Like healthcare, energy and sustainability, womanhood. So talking about friendships and relationships and dating and fertility and this and that, right? Like we've got all of these communities now available on our technology that you can tap into and learn from and grow alongside ultimately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we're going to jump into a different part of this conversation. If you are just joining us, we are talking to Shivani Gohil, the founder and CEO of Rat Girls. We went from Shivani's personal and professional life into building Rat Girls, and now we're going to talk about challenges and the realistic of building a tech startup. Company in the Silicon Valley where there are many tech companies already. So thank you again, Shivani, for joining us on Self Reflection Podcast. As a tech startup founder and a CEO, what are some of the most significant challenges that you have faced, and how have you navigate that while maintaining your mental health and well-being?
Oh gosh. This entire journey has been riddled with challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, across our podcast, we've been talking a lot about what it's like to have work-life balance and how I navigate that, which I'm still learning, right? And so naturally, the thing that always comes back is the lessons learned, right? And so what I can share is some of the biggest, maybe I'll share like one or two big challenges, if that's okay, and then kind of the learnings from that and how that's impacted how I move forward. Um, I think being a startup founder naturally puts you into the exact culture of startups, right? So you very much have to be someone who's willing to roll with the punches and break things, right? And build them up again and then start over from scratch. And the people around you very much have to be that way as well, right? For me, and as it relates to Rat Girls, we've had an incredible team over 2 years. Some of the earliest people to join us are still with us. And more than that, you know, they fully believe in the vision, right? I think that's the most important thing. And so for me, like when I started this journey, I didn't know that other people would believe in this, right? I knew maybe customers might. When it comes to recruiting for a startup, right? Like that was really where I struggled. I didn't think anyone would love this, right? Like that they would take a risk on a company like ours. And so, I mean, we have a great team now that has. The second thing here is kind of balance, right? Again, like as a CEO, especially, you are managing every single team, right? Like from legal, which I'm not a lawyer, right? To accounting, I'm not an accountant, right? To like, you know what I mean? Like to engineering, I'm like, you know what I mean? Right? Like to product, like I'm not a product manager, right? Like you know what I mean? Like you're literally every single team is reporting up to you, and especially at such an early stage, right? Like, you are the expert of this company, you are steering the ship, and when something breaks, you've got to fix it, right? Or at least you should know how to fix it. And so that's where I think that people who are lifelong learners are well positioned to be this kind of role, right? That being said, I don't think I would like, it's been hard, right? Like, there are days where there's an engineering fire, a legal fire, and like a sales fire that I put out, and I don't know which one to do first, right? And that's where the people around you matter so much, right? From people that you've met to people that you haven't met. Like, you know, one of our advisory board members told me this very early into me starting Rat Girl. She was like, to be a dreamer, you have to be a doer. And that literally has become part of the ethos at Rat Girls too, right? Like, to be someone who's building strategy and looking at long-term vision, you have to know how to come back down to square one and do that all the way up to there. Right? So how do you navigate that as a young woman who is not experienced across all of these different functions? Of course, that has been a huge challenge, and that is probably why, I am so tired, right? The second biggest learning that I have from there to kind of address that challenge is from Ben Horowitz, right? From Andreessen Horowitz, of course. I was reading one of his books while I was just driving, kind of thinking about the journey ahead for me as a founder and CEO. And in his book, he mentioned something really lovely that like just stuck with me, right? Like, okay, there's an engineering fire, a product fire, and a legal fire. How are you dealing with those? And what are you prioritizing? And the way that he prioritizes things as a CEO and now an investor is, it's always people, products, and then profits, right? Think about your people. Are they the right people? And more importantly, if they are you nurturing their growth? Do they know that they always have a place at your company, right? Like, do they know that they are valued above anything else, right? Like, do they know that? Do they know how important they are to you, right? People, product, right? Engineering fire, okay, let's talk about that, right? Or maybe a certain feature needs to be built out to support something else, right? Okay, let's talk about that, right? And of course, everything has its own implications from, okay, we're building this new feature, like, how much is it going to cost, right? Okay, let's go talk to accounting, and then legal, and then this, that, right? So, it's just, you have to be someone who loves running around. You have to love chaos. And then finally, there's profits, right? Like, if you've taken care of your people, your team, what got you this far, right? The people that believed in you and your vision, and you loved them and you cared for them, and they know that. If you've taken care of the product and it's a damn good product, right? And it's the best thing that anyone's going to see on the market, and no one else can catch up. All right, then you're ready to talk about the money, right? And so there's that. And so, those are the biggest learnings and lessons from the two biggest challenges I faced, right? Balance and I forget the other one now. I'm sorry. But just rewind.
This episode is brought to you by Prolong. If you want the healthy benefits of fasting, such as healthy aging, weight loss, energy, and mental clarity, while still being able to eat, Prolong fasting mimicking nutrition programs are for you. Prolong is the first and only clinical tested doctor recommended fasting nutrition program based on over 20 years of research and development by the Longevity Institution at the University of Southern California in collaboration with 17 other prestigious universities. It's primarily plant-based. Non-GMO food is shown to rejuvenate your body cells the same way fasting would. And if done 3 times a year, you can reverse your biological age by 2.5 years. Check out Prolong 5 Days Nutritional Program and subscribe to the program every 4 months for the best results by going to prolonglife.com. That is prolonlife.com. And for you, my dear Self-Reflection family, you get 20% off with code SELF10 at checkout. Absolutely. Thank you so much again for sharing that with us on Self Reflection Podcast. Again, guys, if you are just joining us, we are talking to Shivani Gohil. Sorry, my bad. We're talking to Shivani. Now we're both in the funk. We're talking to Shivani Gohil. Guys, we're going to move into the impact and innovation of this part of the conversation. Like I mentioned, that our conversation is going to go into different sections. Like I said, one part might not apply to you, but maybe the other part might apply to you, right? If you're looking to start a company, it doesn't have to be a tech company, it could be any company, right? If you're looking to start that, this conversation might be something you might want to listen to, because she not only talk about just the tech part of the company and the startup. Moreover, she's talking about the back stuff of it as well, like the legal stuff, right? Having the right people on your team, right? And also just knowing how to navigate things from bouncing from being the CEO to being someone putting on the gloves and the boots and getting into the field and actually doing the work. So we're going to get into the impact and innovation of this conversation. Again, thank you, Shivani, for joining us on Self Reflection Podcast. I have this, as you were talking about being being a CEO and a founder, you have to balance, you have to be ready to be flexible, I guess we can say, right? So how does Rat Girls AI powered application personalize the user experience, and what impact do you hope it will have on young women navigating their professional and personal development?
Absolutely, absolutely. Happy to switch gears into a more technical conversation because I love this too. Right. So I think I'm going to chat a little bit about why we decided to go the AI route for addressing the particular challenges that women have as they navigate their personal and professional development. Lira, you nailed it. It's the personalization side of things, right? When we think about the personal and professional challenges that young women face, the biggest issue was that actually there were insufficiently tailored resources. So many women, 63% according to the Pew Research Center, felt that there was a significant guidance gap, right? And this guidance gap was causing huge gender disparities across, many different spheres, right? But the biggest one being that there was a $12 trillion global deficit. There was a $12 trillion loss to the global GDP that is expected to happen by 2025 just because women do not have that, right? And so how can we ensure, right, when the problem statement is, okay, women do not have enough resources, the second iteration of that, like this next step in that case study would be, okay, the reason that women do not have enough resources is because actually the way that the resources are being created and delivered to women is not a perfect match, right? Like maybe I live in San Francisco, right? Well, I do. I live in San Francisco, right? But I'm getting content about like Boston Run Club. In Boston, I'm not interested in running. Why am I getting that, right? And it's just because other women were interested in that. That's literally it. That's how their algorithms are working on our competitors, right? And so when we think about that, like that was the problem, right?
Yeah.
That was the problem as we broke down that large problem. The only way to solve that problem is to build better algorithms, right? To build better AI and machine learning models, right? That was the answer, right? And so that was the approach that we took to building our technology. Taking a kind of like a deeper dive into Rat Girls' technology, um, the simplest way that I can put this is that we've completely redefined the algorithms that exist for how women, um, you know, women's content is being delivered to them, how they are engaging with that, and more importantly, the next step, right? Which is once they consume a bit of media, right, or knowledge, as we like to say, once they consume that knowledge, what happens next, right? We basically created a full life cycle for, okay, this is the first point of touch for the woman, right? Like she is interested in running, she is in San Francisco, and she wants to be a product manager.
Mm.
Okay, we know this about her. Now let's make sure that she gets to that dream and that everything that she needs along the way of that journey is delivered to her, from networking sessions to meeting like-minded people to mentorship, guidance, resources, media, community events, right? Shopping, right? Maybe she needs a new pair of shoes because she's interested in running, right? Or maybe she's looking for a new blazer for that first product manager job that she just landed,
Yeah.
right? Huge deal. Go get yourself something nice, right? Like, go and celebrate your win, right? And so all of that, and the way that we deliver things is exactly like that. It's not like, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this, or hey, like sign up for this, sign up for this, sign up for this. It's more like, hey, here's some options that you have at this stage in your journey, right? I know that you're a 22-year-old girl who just graduated from UC Berkeley, just moved to San Francisco with her college roommates who are now her besties. Okay, girl, what's next, right?
Mhm.
Like, tell me about all of your dreams. Tell us everything, and we will help you. We've been there. We've done that. And if I haven't, then I know Lira has. And if Lira hasn't, then I know Gabby has. And if Gabby hasn't, then I know Ashmir has. And, you know, we're a community.
Yes.
It's about time that women finally got back to our roots of being communal,
Yeah.
of being connected, right? Of uplifting one another and being that, village for
Yeah.
each other.
I
And yeah, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Please go. Carry on. Talk. Talk.
I'm so sorry. But in a world where it's so easy for us to have it, there's technology, there's Instagram, like, sorry, no, I don't know why I said Instagram. There's technology, there's community, there's internet, right? Why not?
Mm-hmm.
It's such a simple answer, right? Like, why not give women everything? Like, it's so easy. Like, it's internet plus community plus technology. Like, let's do it, right? And so that's become our motto as we build the company. Of course, on a more intricate level, it's been insane, but on paper, like, I'm happy with what this is. Like, and even off paper, like, I'm happy that this is what we're building after all of that.
Absolutely. I love it, and I think you said something that really like stuck with me. But if I could remember, you said after you graduate from college, right? Let's say they went to Berkeley and they moved to San Francisco. What next? And I think that's where I was when I graduated from Sonoma State. I was like, I came home in the middle of COVID. I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? Where do I go? And at this time I didn't understand the value of having a mentor or having someone that has been through that challenge. So I think Rat Girls is something that is much needed. I think it's long overdue that women and young girls have something like this that they can go to. Just the other day, I was talking to one of my girlfriends, Ayan, and she was saying how she wants to be able to have a mentor, right? A woman mentor in that space. So I was like, when she said that, Rock Girls kind of came in play and in mine as well at the same time, because I'm like, so many young women go through that phase where we don't know like the importance of just having someone that has, you know, as a mentor. We don't understand the value of that, right? And I think last time in our conversation we talked about the boys club or the men's club. I think this is somewhat similar. I don't want to say compare to them, but this is something for the women, and it could be the women's quote unquote club. But I think it's something that is needed in a society, and the fact that Rat Girls just literally want to help young women and without charging them $200,000 per session, I think that's beautiful. What is some professional advice you have for young aspiring young women wanting to get into tech, entrepreneurs, just being a young woman?
Absolutely. I think, oh God, I don't know if I've earned the right to give advice just yet, but actually, the comment that I was going to make while you were speaking was about how you don't have to have it all figured out to uplift another woman, right? Like, we have thought leaders in our program that are 23 years old, and they're helping younger women, like 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old girls, right? It's like, just recognizing that who you are today is enough, and
Yeah.
that person who you are today can be empowered, and more importantly, that can empower more people. I think that's more than enough. Like, I don't think that's advice per se. I think that's more um, a mindset,
Yeah.
right? I think that it's important to have that mindset as a woman, because the world has ripped us apart from each other for so long and pitted us against one another for so long that, again, like you said, it's about damn time that we stood together and that we helped one another, right? And that we recognize our own light, and we also recognize her own light, right? Like the
Yes.
other woman across from you's light, and that we nurture that within each other, right? I think it's that simple, and that's the spiritual side of things, of course, but it is that simple. It really is that simple. And it doesn't just happen with womanhood, right? Like if we can do that with everyone on earth, what a wonderful place to be alive,
Yeah.
right? Like what a time to be alive, right? And I know that's a little delusional. I don't know if we'll ever get there as a world, but why not? Why not? Like
Strive
maybe.
for it. Yeah.
Like why not? Yeah. I know that the girls can do it. So, Rat Boys might be the next thing we build.
That would be pretty cool too.
I don't want that. I will have to hire a girl CEO for that. I don't know how to handle that.
Yes. Oh, thank you. I want to thank you again for coming on Self Reflection Podcast. I want to thank you for sharing Rat Girls with all of us. And when does the date Rat Girls? When do you guys finally open up to the public? And how can people like connect to this amazing program?
Absolutely. So at this moment, everything is invitation only. So we do actually have a couple of users on our platform now, but our official launch date is July 20th. On July 20th, if you've signed up for our waitlist, we'll already have your email. And so we'll be able to send you an invitation code to your inbox. Go ahead and type in that code. The best way to get access, right, would just be to get onto that waitlist. That's mostly because we want to ensure that there's no bots, no spam, that all of our women are safe on our technology, and that their data is safe, that there's no creepy people on the platform, right? Like preying on women. Like we don't want that, right? And so for all of those reasons, we're only allowing users onto the technology as a invitation only. Now, the best way to sign up for our waitlist would be to go to our website. It'll be www.ratgorls.com. And on our website, there will be a big yellow button that says Get Early Access. Go ahead and fill out the form that takes you to, and you'll be able to get access either to be a member, a digital creator, a thought leader, or even a partner, which would mean a nonprofit or a business that wants to collaborate with us.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much for joining us on Self Reflection Podcast. This is something that we have been waiting for, and I think it's time that the young women out there receive this because it's well deserved. And also, again, I want to tell you and your team, thank you guys for building such an amazing program for all of us out here. I'm also excited to be part of this and also experience this amazingness. So, thank you. If we want to contact on social media, what is the social media handle?
Oh, absolutely. It's quite simple. It's at Rat Gorls Inc. on all of our social channels. We only have an Instagram and TikTok at the moment.
Mhm.
So feel free to check us out there or on our website.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us again on Self Reflection Podcast. Today we were having an amazing conversation with Shivani Gohil. I am excited to have this conversation. I'm excited for you guys to actually see this conversation and receive this information. Um, again, like she mentioned, you guys can go to the website. We are going to have the website in the description part of this podcast. Also, we're going to have the social media handle in the description part of this podcast. That way, you can just click on the link in the description part and it will take you straight to their website. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining us on Self Reflection Podcast. I'm grateful. I can't tell you guys how grateful I am of everyone that tune in week after week to listen to Self Reflection Podcast and engage with me on social media. If you know somebody that wants to come on Self Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and reach out to us on our social media or on our website on guardthesoul.com. Everyone is more than welcome. I am excited to see where Rat Girls go. Again, thank you, Shivani, for joining us on Self Reflection Podcast. Everyone, please take care of yourself, love yourself, be kind, and be gentle with yourself. Until next time, bye for now.